Hello, this is Andrew Jara introducing our next episode on Babylon AD. I just wanted to say that our film, The Empty Space, has been selected to premiere at the Sacramento Horror Film Festival that might be going on right now. I'll put the dates on. The good thing is, because of the pandemic, this year it is online, which means anyone in the US can watch it. It's only $5. So if you want to support us or you just want to see if we know what we're talking about, please, I highly recommend going to the link that's in the bio and purchasing a ticket. Watch it. Let us know what you think. Follow me on social media. And yeah, let us know. The Empty Space is about Amy Andrews, a girl dealing with anxiety, who may or may not be losing her grip with reality. It's a scary movie. It's a funny movie. It's a hopefully relatable movie. It's about me dealing with my anxiety. So yeah, please give it a watch. Please follow the link and buy a ticket. That'd be great. Let us know what you think. And now let's get on with the show. So we're talking about Babylon AD, starring Vin Diesel. And I want to talk about it for two different reasons. First, because we couldn't let our first season go by without me talking about Vin Diesel movies at least once, because I love Vin Diesel. And two, because this movie was massacred in the studios. There's an original cut and a director's cut. And the director's cut added back in like 10 minutes of footage. But yeah, let's just kind of get into it. So Babylon AD stars Vin Diesel as Hugo Turop, which is the best. It's like the most action guy.
Oh, is it Hugo Turop?
It's
I don't
Hugo
think they ever
Turop.
say his first name. They just call him Turop.
And they couldn't, if you had known that his name was Hugo Turop, your loins wouldn't have been able to take it. It has Michelle Yeoh as Sister Rebecca. It has Melina Theri as Aurora. It's directed by Matthew Kazovich, who also directed Gothica. So yeah, the basic plot is that Turop is a kind of general mercenary type gun for hire.
I need a smuggler, a girl. She needs to be in America in 6 days.
To take this girl named Aurora from wherever they are in Eastern Europe to America. But if he takes her, he'll be able to live in America.
Funny kind of how it's in the future, but kind of close enough now to where you're like, oh, things are turning out this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it does get a lot right.
One thing I want to mention is that the director's cut and the movie in general has this kind of theme of, because they both deal with religion and with God, and it has this kind of theme of you find God in yourself. Like, don't look towards religion or towards like a miracle, but look towards your fellow man and how they take care of each other.
What about God? Can he help us? I don't think so. God gave us what we have to see how we'll use it.
Which is a good theme, and it comes back around in a pretty obvious way that we'll get to. But the reason I bring this up so quickly is that because in the director's cut, it's there all the time, but it's super subtle. And in the theatrical cut, it's just not there.
Yeah, and it also, like, because they will later talk about God a little bit in both cuts, but in the theatrical, they don't really do it enough to where you're like, oh, is this going to be like what the movie's about? And then it just kind of shies away from it. So it's very like, oh, you kind of half left it in and then just didn't develop on it.
Right,
Whereas
which
the
is,
director's cut's like, no, this is what it's about.
as we talk about it, there are important elements that come back to it, and it just like everything just feels out of place because they've essentially taken the theme out of the movie, and this is a perfect example. Like, I was scared that we weren't going to have a lot to talk about, but seeing them back to back, you're like, okay, this is perfect for our podcast because it shows you why themes for movies are so important. Okay, so let's get into it. And one of the things that I really liked about it was that they did a great job of showing, because from Turop's apartment to the streets outside, everything looks like a dystopian. And then you get into this limo, and everything inside the limo is nice, but it has like these windows showing the outside. And the outsides are still super shitty. And even like the inside, it's kind of like...
There's like a cheap aesthetic to it. Yeah.
Right, and it's like feels very
like
true to...
expensive but tacky. Yeah.
Right, like the guy has no taste, but he has a lot of money. And I thought that was like that was like a beautiful touch. I mean, the whole like world building is good.
Yeah, it's really good, like set dressing and just kind of like little like design, like that like is solid in both cuts of the movie. So
Right after Turap accepts the job, they cut to Turap in a car connected to a magnet on a helicopter. The helicopter's like flying him to his next destination. Which again, they could have just shown Turap driving wherever, but instead they added like this nice little touch. It says like, "Hey, you're in the future, and this world has no rules," but in a more realistic way than like Mad Max. Like Mad Max is amazing, of course, but there's a sense of government, but not really. You're on your own, and that's what this movie feels like.
Because he goes from wherever he is, then he's in Kazakhstan in the next scene once once he picks up his passengers. So,
Yeah, there's really no like.
I don't know how the geography really works, but it does seem a little bit off.
Maybe we're just dumb Americans and we don't know that all these places are next to each
maybe
other.
all these things are really close.
So he goes to pick up his package, and it's like a girl. She is the worst actress in this movie. They give her nothing to work on. So Turap and her have an exchange where it's kind of shown that girl is super innocent.
Are you a killer, Mr. Turap?
Look, lady, I'm just a delivery boy. And to me, you're just a package.
Like, they do a good job of establishing the characters, because Turap is like this tough, hard-boiled guy. The girl is innocent. And then Michelle Yeoh's kind of in the middle, where she's just very protective.
She's like stern, yeah, she's just kind of protector. It is very,
Aurora.
like, did you just hire her for the fight scenes? I don't know. It seems out of place.
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh being in there, like, she doesn't do enough. And I feel like...
Yeah, they really don't give her enough is the problem.
Yeah, and it's like they separated Michelle Yeoh and Aurora's character into two different characters. Where if it was just one person, I think it would have meshed better, because neither of them get enough screen time or backstory. And it's just like,
yeah,
why is this character here? Which is not something you should be asking. They go from the train depot. And again, the look of the film is great. From the train to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Just looks good. And then they go to like a underground MMA fight. Because this was made in the 2000s. And every 2000 movie
MMA was
needed like a cage.
Everyone decided that was going to be the big thing was MMA forever.
Yeah, MMA like underground was a huge thing in the early 2000s.
Okay, they go essentially. Turap goes to meet a contact, and speaking of mid 2000s, he meets Mark Strong with the worst mid 2000s frat boy, like blonde hair where only the top part is dyed.
Yeah, he has frosted tips. This movie is super 2000, 2008.
It's very strange. It's almost like Mark Strong's character was alive in the year 2000 and just kept that hairstyle.
Yeah, man, this movie.
Right.
Just talking this movie out, I'm starting to think it shouldn't be on this list.
It's still got some good stuff.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel's got some good moments in this.
I mean, Vin Diesel is a good actor. Like he can clearly only play a certain type. But he does that type well, and he throws his whole heart into it.
Yeah, it's like you could tell he actually cares.
Yeah.
Like he thinks these movies are cool. It's almost like Mila Jovovich is the same way, where she's in a lot of movies I don't like, but you can tell she's like enthusiastic about being in them, and you do appreciate that.
Every Thursday is called the Furious Fridays.
It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday.
Is every Friday on his Instagram, where he talks about how much he wants to be Riddick again. And like, of course, the Fast and the Furious, like every year, I call them Riddick. That's how much he loves these films. Vin Diesel will be like, oh, this Fast and the Furious is the one that's going to win us the Best Picture Oscar. And it's like,
he really thinks that.
Yeah, it's not like a Ryan Reynolds, let me be ironic about this. It's literally, oh no, I think we're going to win Best Picture. But I just think that kind of earnestness is amazing from a main actor. I would rather have someone who's passionate about a movie that wasn't that good than have someone who's like snarky about the movie that made them into a star. Even though Turap is kind of a generic Vin Diesel character, he does try his hardest to make him a little bit different. He doesn't really succeed because Turap is just written to be a Vin Diesel character, but still. Yeah, so then they get to America, and also,
strange cut.
This is where we see the No-Lights, and they're like, hey, we gotta go get Turap.
It's like a cult, you know?
Right. And the No-Lights are this religious order who's trying to, who wants Aurora. And that's the part of the nuns. Also, we hired Gorski to get her. we may or may not be evil, but the fact that we all look like we're vampires, we're pretty evil. And
Well, yeah, and then the doctor comes in.
a
And
doctor
Aurora's
comes.
like, "You're a bad man," like to his
Right, because
face.
she can, like the whole movie,
He's
she's
like,
been able to use her psychic powers sometimes. Never when it's been like when it's been helpful. But yeah, she tells them
but it
he's
is very. I mean, you kind of realize because you see like the bikers setting up like Gorski's gang and them, and they're all like kind of in like the armored cars and stuff. And you realize like, oh, he's fucked. Like no matter what he does, you do like realize like, oh, it doesn't really matter if he drops her off or follows. They're still gonna try to kill him anyway. Because then you also find out in that same scene they blew up the convent where she was staying like right after she left to like cover their tracks basically.
and also because the Gorski's guys and the No Light guys are outside. And here's the thing, okay, so they get to this hotel, a doctor comes in, she says, "You're a bad man." The doctor says, "Oh, you're pregnant." Or he goes, "How can she be pregnant? No one's ever touched her." And it zooms into her face and she goes,
And nobody has.
which doesn't, like, that's such a weird. I don't even know. And again, like I said, she's the worst actress, but maybe it's because she's given lines like this where I don't even know what they were going for. And so in this one scene, we learned that she has some kind of virgin miracle birth. We learned that the covenant was destroyed, so no lights are evil. We know that Gorski turned on Turop. We learned that she was a virgin, and we learned that like the mission isn't over. And it's like you guys could have said all of this over the course of the movie. I don't know why you decided to plant it all at the same time.
Yeah, it's very rushed. It is weird that they spend so much time getting there, and they even have a lot of scenes of them hanging out, and they're like, "Here's the plot. Here's the plot. Here's the plot." Yeah,
And they could have even, like, when they're on the Russian boat, she could have been throwing up. You know, like, there was so many chances for them to, like, establish or even allude to the fact that she's pregnant. I mean, Turop could have been like, "Oh, I think she's pregnant." And then Michelle Yeoh could have been like, "She can be pregnant. She's a virgin." So then they go outside and they're like, "Okay, Turop, you can leave now." And Turop's like, "I don't think so." So then he starts fighting them and then they all get in a big fight. I think at this point it's No Life, Gorski's men, and then a mysterious third group of, well, we're going to find out in a little bit.
yeah, and there is, and this very much feels like a trailer scene because they wanted to have the scene in the trailer where she blocks a missile with her mind, you know,
Right.
because that's if anyone, no one who saw that movie, you know, very few people saw this movie, but the ones who remember it just remember that trailer because that was like the big trailer scene.
Right, and it even opens with like the missile flying at Vin Diesel, and
Yeah.
he's like on his
That is
knees.
a good idea, though. That was the ultimate betrayal. Was it didn't matter if he got away? They had like linked the passport Gorski had given him to like a missile, so
Right.
no matter what, it was just going to target him, no matter where they shot it, and just like seek him out.
They're fighting, and then he has a missile in his neck, and the missile's following, and then Aurora's like, "I need you to live." And then she shoots him, and then the missile goes off, and she's blocked it. It just kind of, like, it just feels like it's tacked on again. Also, they kill Michelle Yeoh in that scene, and I watched that movie twice over the course of 2 days, and I don't really remember how she dies, other than that she just suddenly gets shot.
Yeah, that's it. She gets shot, and she's like, "You need to protect her now, Turop."
And then he wakes up, and it's like a scientist, and he has like a neck brace. It's never really explained. He's in a wheelchair, and he's
Well,
like,
they just say like later, she's like, "It's like, oh, Gorski tried to kill him, so he faked his own death."
right. But
That's all you know.
here's the thing. So they like, she shoots him, and this doctor guy brings him back to life. And he's like, "Hey, Tara, I actually created her to be a fake miracle for the No Lights, and that's why she has a virgin birth."
Yeah, like her plan was to fake kill you long enough for the secret message she gave you to like stay hidden until like they could like pull it out of his brain.
In your brain, yeah. And it's like, wait, did she know that if she shot him, he wasn't going to die? And also...
Well, he does die.
Oh,
She
he
just
does die, yeah.
Yeah, because when they bring him back to life, they're like, we did the best we could, but he has like a fake leg, and his arm like doesn't really work without computers. So it's
Yeah, it's like a robot
his
arm.
body's still partially dead. Yeah, I mean it's
It's like
It's
such a weird.
convoluted, but
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like, hey, this is the end of the movie, but we've just decided to add this technology where we can not only bring you back to life, but then we can read your brain. Also, I created Aurora, and she's gonna hold a miracle virgin birth. That's why I created her. I've just been doing a lot. I'm a very busy scientist.
Also, it's like, oh, you brought me back. Did you bring back Michelle Yeoh? Who? Although at some point during this scene too, it completely cuts away to. This is like the only two times the movie actually cuts away from Vin Diesel at the very beginning, to show the head of the No Lights to be like, your daughter's en route, and then this scene in the conference room, where she's like, well, we lost my daughter. Good job, guys.
Well, no, no, and that seems even more because they go, "We lost your daughter," and then she goes, "What is our backup plan?" And they say, "Well, what we can do is do some charitable works or have a satellite." So then she says, "The religion needs miracles. It doesn't need acts of compassion," which is she's literally stating what the theme of the movie is, but from the bad guy's point of view.
I think it's a good idea to be like, oh, like in this time of like the world is bad, like the only thing people have is religion, and we're not going to help them, but we want to be the religion that controls them. Like that's a good idea.
Right. So yeah, they cut to her and she literally says the theme of the movie from the bad guy's point of view. And then I feel like, so we cut back to Turop and they're about to go through his brain. And this entire movie, we've been praising the production design. So I feel like we have to point out that the like cerebral mind control thing that they put on Vin Diesel's face is the stupidest looking fucking thing that I've ever seen in a
He
future.
looks like alternate versions of the Kano eye from Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat.
it looks like a Party
looks
City
fine.
Kano eye, where it doesn't really fit on your face because it's supposed to fit any little kid, and it's just kind of sticking out. They find out that she wants him to go to his house, so he goes to his house, and then
Yes,
like
this was another, because he does bring it up. He's like, oh, my parents owned a cabin in upstate New York, and this is one of those weird Vin Diesel lines where he's like, they owned a farm. He's like, huh, a farm, more like a cabin with a lot of land. It's such a weird, like, I mean, that's still good, Vin Diesel. I don't
And
know
all-
why you're attacking.
it's like also Vin Diesel. You just described the farm. That's what a farm is. He's like, where is she? And the dad's like, I'll never tell you. And then she shoots him, and then she finds out that she just lost him. And that's the end of the No Lights. Like, you never see them again. Because they have literally lost Vin Diesel and Aurora. Which, like, it is kind of, like, I almost think that it's a little bit brave in the director's cut. For the No Lights are the main villains, and the whole point of the movie is to get away. So there isn't this big climax of, oh, and then he has to go fight the No Lights and he has to kill the headmaster. It's like, no, the climax of the movie is literally them getting away.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It's very like weird, because then in the director's cut, the implication is almost like, oh, he still has to kind of lay low, but he's like doing what he can.
Oh, well, she doesn't know that Turok is alive. So she thinks that she just lost Aurora and she's never going to be able to find her, especially because Aurora's about to die, as we're about to learn. So it makes sense that they would just fail at their mission to find Aurora. And yeah, so then she's like, oh, I'm going to die because her body was never meant to live for that long. It was just meant to hold these babies.
Yeah,
And
like it was supposed to just be a vessel for her birth. Yeah.
in the director's cut, Vin Diesel's like, it just takes one child to save the world. Bumper sticker philosophy. Which again, it ties back into the beginning. It also ties back into how this is supposedly the Messiah, and it's going to be up to the humans to give him the right path. Well, first of all, I think it's a movie that has a lot of good ideas, but they're not well connected. Like, I like the idea of a religion setting up their own miracle in the future so that they'll be the number one religion. Like, that's a good idea. I like the idea of the hero being a mercenary who's not really involved, so he's like a samurai. I like the idea of they're trying to expose the truth. But the movie treats all these things, other than the mercenary, they treat like these big revelations as twists. But since Aurora isn't the main character, we should really know all this ahead of time. so that we can kind of play with that idea. And really, I think the No Light should be the only bad guys. We shouldn't even have the Doctor because he's such a weird, like, nothing character.
I mean, he does work for them, but it is an odd. Like they give him a presence.
Exactly. Like, yeah, they can have the
Doesn't really
Doctor,
follow through.
but he's
Yeah.
such a major character in the last like 20 minutes, and then he's unceremoniously killed. He's unceremoniously introduced. He doesn't really do anything.
It's a little bit, and it kind of has the problem where you get a lot of exposition, and then it cuts to him giving the rest of the exposition, and it's a very like it's awkward.
Yeah, the movie feels very awkward. I mean, I love a lot about it. I like the world, of course. I like Vin Diesel. I think that they should have either made Aurora and Sister Rebecca into one character or added more to both of their characters. But again, they just don't work. There's so much of this movie. Like, once they get to the Russian sub, I feel like the movie kind of just trails on, and it never feels like, it never kind of catches that magic of the first 30 minutes.
But yeah, no, it has a few structural problems like that. I do still think like overall, like thematically, it works even if the plot is kind of a mess.
And now let's get into the fun part where I found this out yesterday. That the director hated the movie so much that he leaked a documentary that he made about how much he hated the movie. It's his documentary that he made about how much he was screwed over by the studios. And the very first scene is the director talking to the crew and talking about how much he hates the production, how much he hates the movie, how much he doesn't want to be there.
People know I've been asking around, where did I go wrong? Nobody can tell me, or nobody allows himself to tell me. Anyway, I'm trying. I tried to get out of this movie.
And it's like, and you can see on the people's faces, I mean, it doesn't tell you when the movie what part of filming this movie was in. But you can see on the actors' faces that they're just like, are you fucking kidding me? If you're the director, you're the leader of the production. And there's even a part where Vin Diesel, like, he's on set. It's that scene that Josh hates where they're talking about Vin Diesel's life in the snow. And Vin Diesel's, like, standing there and he's
I hate that scene, first of all.
well, Vin Diesel, he's like talking to everyone. And Vin Diesel's like,
We're in this together.
and then it cuts to the director and he's like on his phone, like not paying attention while Vin Diesel's like trying to rally the troops, Like, I wanted to talk about this movie because I feel like the director's cut is better and should be watched. But after watching this documentary, I'm like, oh, I fucking hate this guy.
That does put a damper on it.
And yeah, so that was Babylon AD. So next week, Josh is picking his movie and he's coming out the bat with Mediocrity.
This is going to be one of those, I think it was way better in my head, and now that I'm rewatching it 15 years later.
So next week is Josh's pick. Every fifth movie we've decided. And we'll see you guys